This is a brief discussion about book ethics. First, introduction. Why do we need to study ethics and the importance of rules? The study of ethics helps a person to look at his own life critically and to evaluate his action, choices, or decision. It assists a person in knowing what he or she really is and what is the best for him or her and what he or she has to do to attain it. Study of moral philosophy helps us to think better about morality. Also, the study of ethics should also lead to one develop skills in articulating your own values to provide others with the reasons for your actions and give you the means of questioning the values of others. Next is lesson 2, moral versus non-moral standards. Moral standards refers to norms which we have about the type of actions we believe to be morally acceptable and morally unacceptable. Specifically, moral standards deal with matters which can either seriously harm or seriously benefit human being. A non-moral standards refers to rules that are unrelated to moral or ethical consideration. Either these standards are not necessarily linked to morality or by nature lack of ethical sense. Basic example of non-moral standards includes the rules of etiquette, fashion standard, rules in games, and various house rules. Third is moral dilemma. Lesson 3. A moral dilemma are situations in which a decision maker must consider two or more moral values or duties but can only honor one of them. The individual will violate at least one important moral concept I concern regardless of the decision. It is a situation in which a person is torn between right and wrong. Example, there is a lifeboat where there are only 10 species in the lifeboat but there are 11 passengers on the sinking ship. A decision must be made as to who stay behind. That is a moral dilemma. Lesson 4, freedom. It might be too simple way to cope with the instrument freedom in an ethical context. Freedom in a positive sense means being one's own master and being a real self or being in the state of self-government. But to understand freedom as the unfolding of the self is not without problems. Freedom is an essential characteristic of ethics because without it, meaningful moral choices are impossible. Even if one believes that there is no such thing as free will, it is absolutely essential to the well-being and stability of society that people are treated as if they have the freedom to make moral. Chapter 1, The Moral Agent. Lesson 1, How Culture Shapes Human Behavior. Question, why some countries have developed and others are not? why some countries are unstable and others are not, why people in some countries don't care about their country but others people do. Why? Because of the culture. Culture is an collective attribute of group, how they react, what they eat, what they perceive as a good or bad, what they think and normal or not normal. Culture plays with a vital role in shaping the society and the country. A good culture makes it easy and natural to progress. A collective progress behavior is a boon to a country. It seems like progress is happening automatically. Chapter 1, Lesson 2, Cultural Relativism. Cultural relativism is the idea that a person's beliefs, values, and practice should be understood based on the person's own culture rather than be judged against criteria of another. Cultural relativism involves specific epistemological and methodological claims. It refers to not judging a culture of our own standard of what is right or wrong, strange or normally. Instead, we should try to understand culture practice of other groups in its own culture context. Lesson 3, Universal Values. A values a value is universal values if it has the same value or worth for all or almost all people. Spurs human value encompass morality, aesthetic preference, human traits, human endeavor, and social order. First, it could be that something has a universal value when everybody finds it valuable. Our values are important because they help us to grow and develop. They help us to create the future we want to experience. The decisions we make are reflection of our values and beliefs, and they are always directed towards a specific purpose. It's universal values. Let's go to the chapter 2, the act, lesson 3, moral courage. Moral courage is the courage to take action for moral reason despite the risk of adverse consequences. Courage is required to take action when one has doubts or fears about the consequence. Moral courage therefore involves deliberation or careful thought. It defined as brave behavior accompanied by anger and indignation, intending to enforce social and ethical norms without considering one's own social cost.